My father uttered, "You're a complete doormat. See your sister. She handles all our bills." Then I asked, "And the funds I send to you each and every month?" He questioned, "What funds are you mentioning?" My sister gulped terribly hard, and the entire situation exploded. Video opens with a close-up, intense, slightly strained expression, maybe a quick zoom in for dramatic effect. Have you ever had someone you loved, someone you trusted deeply, look you dead in the eye and deny your very existence? Deny every single sacrifice you've made for them? Because that's exactly what happened to me. My own father, sitting across the table, calmly asked, "What money?" And in that single moment, my entire world shattered. I'm Chris, 32. I'm the oldest kid, the Marine since 19. I'm the one who always sent texts starting with "checking in" and ending with "I'll handle it." That's me, the steady one, the one who folds laundry tight, who hates loose ends. But that night, at my parents' kitchen table, with the good plates out for some reason, my father stared right through me, like I was a window that desperately needed Windex. He tapped the table, his voice dripping with disdain. "You're a total doormat. Look at your sister. She pays our bills." I blinked. "Dad, what?" He leaned back, a smug satisfaction on his face. "My mom made that tight, lemon face she does when she's pretending to be neutral. And my sister, Emma, she just stared at her phone like it held the secret to the universe, her lifeline." I heard my own voice, too calm, ask, "And the money I send you every month?" Dad just shrugged. "What money?" The room tilted. My vision blurred. I looked at Emma. She swallowed hard, wouldn't meet my eyes. My hands went ice cold, even with the oven's heat radiating on my knuckles. Somewhere outside, a neighbor's dog barked, a stark reminder that the world was still spinning normally for everyone else. "Say it," I told her, my voice low. Emma tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Chris, this isn't the time." "It's exactly the time," I shot back. Dad jabbed his fork at me. "Don't raise your voice in this house." "Then answer me," I snapped. "What money?" I repeated his line, because I needed to hear it from his mouth again. Needed to feel the sheer, gut-wrenching stupidity of the lie. My phone buzzed on the table. A banking notification. Another auto transfer. Another tiny red dot on a map, marking the places I'd funded from 7 time zones away. I stared straight at my father. "What money?" Emma's throat clicked. "Chris, just please." And that's how it started. One sentence that felt like a slap. One question that ripped our family wide open. I didn't storm out. I didn't even stand. I just sat there, numb, staring at the 3 people who claimed to love me, and realized with a sickening jolt that none of them knew me at all. "Okay," I said quietly, the calm before the storm. "Then let's talk." I grew up in a house where love sounded like chores. Like, "We'll see." Dad worked construction until his knee gave out, then he bounced between jobs. Mom taught piano in the living room, always trying to make ends meet. Emma was the sunshine, the student council star, soft sweaters, that laugh everyone said was contagious. Me? I was the kid who fixed the Wi-Fi, the one who took the trash out before anyone asked, the one who didn't rock the boat because someone had to keep it upright. At 19, I enlisted in the Marines. People think the Corps breaks you down. For me, it did the opposite. It made sense. You wake up, you move your body, you do what you said you'd do. If you mess up, you own it. It's all there in plain language. No sighing. No guilt soup. On my first deployment, I learned to breathe through the noise, rotor wash, dust, radios barking in 3 directions. I turned 21 eating cold chow in a tent while a guy named Alvarez showed me photos of his twins. We were kids with grown-up gear counting down 8 months. Money was simple then. I sent some home. Started small. $150 when Mom's car needed brakes. Then $300 for property tax that surprised Dad, even though it arrived on the same date every year. Then $500 because Emma didn't want to ask. But the textbooks were insane this semester. She called me the best big brother. And I swear, I saved that voicemail like it was a letter from a different planet. Over time, simple turned into a system. I set up autopay to a joint account Mom opened for emergencies. I didn't ask who else had access. That's on me. Then came the family group chat. Rent's due again. Heat bill doubled. Washer died. I sent what I could. Sometimes it was half my paycheck. Sometimes it was the whole reenlistment bonus, split into careful chunks so the withdrawals wouldn't trigger fraud alerts. The notifications became a rhythm. I'd land, check in with my squad, hit the green button on the banking app, and think, asterisk, this keeps them safe. This is what a son does. Asterisk, and yeah, some of it was pride. I liked saying, "I've got you." I liked being the person who could make an ugly number disappear. It felt like control in a life that didn't offer much of it. But things shifted when Emma moved back home after college. She got a remote job with a title that had 5 words and no salary transparency. Suddenly, instead of "we're short on gas," it was "we're looking at a bigger place, and we should really upgrade the kitchen." My parents started saying "we," like the 3 of them were a single organism with a Pinterest account. The first time I felt the floor tilt was on a video call from the barracks. Emma aimed her camera low, just enough to show off the new marble backsplash. "We did it on a budget," she chirped. "I covered most of it." Mom beamed. "They didn't say thank you." I didn't ask. Then I saw the same backsplash on my banking statement. Home Improvement LLC. 3 neat installments that matched the exact days Emma had texted me cute photos of the dog. Little things stacked up. December. We splurged on a better sofa. Dad's back, March. We finally fixed the roof before the rains. June. We had to buy Emma a new laptop. Her job depends on it. Meanwhile, my boots had holes I patched with duct tape. I skipped leave to grab extra pay because, you're young, you can handle it. I told myself it was temporary. Mom said, when your father's knee heals. Like it was a plot twist any minute now. Dad said, when I get back on a site. Like the phone would ring if he stared at it long enough. Emma said, I'll pay you back. I promise. In a voice that made it sound like a fairy tale with no deadline. The tension didn't break big. Frayed. The first fray. A cousin's barbecue. My uncle joked, your sister's a saint. Pays for everything. Everyone nodded like they'd rehearsed it. I laughed because the other option was to flip a table. Emma squeezed my arm and whispered, don't. Make a scene. I swallowed the heat. Reminded myself. Marines don't lose their bearings in public. Second fray. Mom sent a selfie from a day spa with the caption, self-care. On the same day, she texted me, honey, the electricity. We're a little behind. I told myself those could both be true. Maybe a group spa. Maybe a gift from a friend. I turned the volume down on my gut, feeling like it was a radio picking up static. Third fray. I came home on leave, took Dad to the diner he likes. The waiter asked Emma if she wanted to keep the card on file. Her card with my name on it. The joint account. She laughed, slid it back into her wallet. Oh, that one's for the house stuff. House stuff. The waiter didn't blink. My father didn't blink. I blinked for everyone. I tried to start a conversation that night. Let's look at the monthly budget together. Mom said, don't be controlling. Dad said, don't bring Marine rules into a family home. Emma said, I am paying for things. Then she listed them. Netflix, the dog's vet, her own gym membership, so I can help Dad with his exercises. The way she said it, I felt like I'd accused her of a crime. I backed off, because I'd learned this. Sometimes peace is cheaper than truth. But truth collects interest. By the time we reached that Sunday night table, I'd been sending money for 8 years. I'd covered a $2,800 dental bill for Mom, a $1,200 property tax catch-up, a $900 plane ticket for Emma to network in Austin, 3 separate emergency tires, and one horrible week where I sent $3,500 after Dad texted bank threatening foreclosure. And I was walking toward a helicopter, trying not to throw up from the adrenaline. So when my father said, what money? A switch flipped. Because even if he wanted to pretend, he couldn't pretend I wasn't there. He couldn't pretend the transfers didn't exist. He couldn't pretend that the person he was scolding like a child wasn't the same person holding their whole house together with direct deposit and duct tape. Okay. I said again, my voice steady now. Let's talk. Don't start, Dad warned. I put my phone on the table, opened the banking app, scrolled. Then I turned the screen so they could all see the neat little line of green arrows pointing out of me and into them. Rent, I said, tapping one. Utilities, taxes, roof, laptop, sofa, backsplash, tires, vet, flights, and more rent. Mom folded her arms. We didn't ask you to do all that. I laughed once, a bitter sound. You did. You just didn't like using the word ask. You said we're short, and it's an emergency, and you're our son. Emma's eyes were glassy. Chris, I told you when my bonus hits. Your bonus hit 3 times. I cut her off, sliding to another screen. 3 credits to your account from your company. 3 debits from the house card within 24 hours each. Salon, boutique, weekend cabin. Her mouth opened, closed. That's not fair. What isn't? I asked. Dad jabbed a finger. Don't accuse your sister. I didn't raise my voice. Then tell me where the money went. Bills, Mom said. Life is expensive, right? I said. I agree. I see the bills. I pay the bills. Enough, Dad barked. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I said, looking him dead in the eye. I've been embarrassed for years. I was embarrassed when you told Uncle Mike that Emma pays for everything. I was embarrassed when the waiter handed her my card. I was embarrassed when I got a fraud alert because the mortgage company thought the number of payments from my account looked suspicious. Silence. Even the fridge seemed to hold its humming breath. Emma whispered. I didn't mean. I cut her off gently. I know you didn't mean to lie at first. I think it started as pride. You wanted to be the hero. Mom and Dad wanted a story where they weren't leaning on their son overseas. So you told people you covered it. And at some point the story felt real. Then the spending started to match the story. Dad stood up, fists clenched. Get out. Not yet, I said. I slid a printed spreadsheet across the table. I'd made it on base the week before, after the last emergency text. Every transfer, every label, 8 years of quiet yes. I'm not a bank. I'm not a ghost. I'm your son. And I'm done. Mom's voice went small and sharp. So, you're abandoning us? No, I said. I'm setting terms. Terms? Dad sneered. Yes, boundaries. Here they are. I tapped the paper. I'll pay for needs. Real ones, verified with bills I can see. No more joint card. No more house account. No more autopay. If you need help, you ask directly. If I can, I will. If I can't, I won't. And if anybody, anybody tells people that Emma pays for everything, the help stops for a year. I'm not negotiating that. Dad laughed. Mean and short. You think you can dictate to me in my house? I sat back, my gaze steady. I think I can control what I fund. I think I've been doing that silently. I'm just putting words to it. Emma wiped her eyes. Chris, please don't make them hate me. They don't hate you, Em, I said, a little softer. They just like the version of you that cost me money. Dad slapped the table. Out. Okay, I said. I stood, tucked my phone into my pocket, and let my hand rest flat on the spreadsheet one last second. Last thing, I added, looking at my sister, because she deserved something clear. Shame thrives in secrets. I'm not carrying yours anymore. I walked to the door. Nobody followed. On the porch, I felt that strange, dangerous mix. Grief and relief. The sun was too soft. The air smelled like cut grass and hot asphalt. I heard Emma start to cry. Dad's voice rose. Mom's rose to match. I just kept moving. My truck door closed with the kind of solid thud that tells your body a chapter just ended. I sat there, hands on the wheel, and breathed like we're trained to breathe when the OP goes sideways. In, out, count, ground yourself, decide, then go. And I went. I thought the silence would be the worst part. It wasn't. The worst was the noise that came instead. Hour 1. 3 missed calls from Mom. Voicemails about family and, how dare you put us on the spot. I let them sit. Hour 2. A text from Emma. I'm sorry. I panicked. I stared at it until the screen went black, then wrote back. We'll figure it out, but it has to be honest. Day 2. Dad posted a photo of him and Emma at the hardware store with the caption, my girl, the one who keeps us going. A little theater for their audience. I didn't take the bait. Day 3. The group chat blew up. Aunt Linda. We heard Chris is cutting you off. Mom. He's confused. Cousin Jake. Wait. I thought Emma. Dad. She does everything. I typed 3 words. Not anymore. Boundaries. And muted the thread. Then came the practical fallout. I canceled the joint card. The bank rep tried to upsell me on a premium account. I said no and shut the laptop with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. I changed the autopay to 0. My phone stayed quiet until the first of the month, when Mom called at 7:12 a.m. on the dot. Mortgages due, she said, already angry. Send me the statement. I said. It's the same policy for everyone. I don't report to you, she snapped. Then you don't get my money, I said calmly and ended the call, because I've learned that some conversations are a loop. She sent the statement an hour later. I paid it. That's the thing about boundaries. They're not revenge. They're a fence with a gate and rules about how the gate works. If you ring the bell politely, and you actually live there, I'll let you in. Emma came by my apartment with a grocery bag and big eyes. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, a sweatshirt I recognized from senior year. She hovered just inside the door. I'm sorry, she said again. You said that, I answered, softer than I felt. Why did you do it? She perched on the edge of the couch that still smelled like fabric cleaner. It started small, she said. Mom would say, don't tell Chris about the spa, he'll overreact. Dad would say, people don't need to know our business. And then people started telling me I was so generous. Felt nice. It was like I could be the good one without doing the hard part. That hard part is my paycheck, I said. I know. She looked up. I didn't think you kept track. I smiled without humor. I'm a Marine. We keep track. She took a breath. Okay, I'll tell people the truth. I don't want to pressure you, I said. I want you to stop lying. She nodded. And I'll pay you back. How? Silence. She hadn't thought that far. Start with this, I said. I pulled out an envelope. Inside, a photocopy of the spreadsheet and a sticky note with a monthly number, broken into chunks. This isn't punishment. It's a plan. 50 a week. You skip, it rolls. You pay early, it shrinks. I'll match whatever you put toward Dad's medical until the debt's cleared. Then we reassess. She stared at the paper like it might bite. You made a payment plan for me? Yeah, I said. Turns out I like plans. She sniffed and laughed at the same time. You're such you. Thanks, I said. We ate the groceries she'd brought. Eggs, bread, berries. She insisted on doing the dishes. She gave me a hug at the door that felt like both of us were 12 again, trying to apologize for a broken vase. The next week, Mom called to say the power company had messed up the bill. Send it, I said. She sent a photo of the envelope face, not the statement. Open it, I wrote. She waited 4 hours, then sent the actual bill, which was exactly on time and exactly the amount it always is. I paid it. She texted, thank you, with a period, like she was being forced to say it at gunpoint. Dad stayed loud. He left a voicemail that started with, you're acting high and mighty, and ended with threats about being done with you. Then he texted me a photo of the house with the caption, you think you own this? I didn't respond. Instead, I called the bank and took my name off the mortgage account altogether. If I wasn't going to be a ghost owner, I might as well be a person with clean hands. Freedom came in weird shapes. A Saturday morning where I made pancakes and didn't check my phone every 5 minutes. A run without mentally calculating which bill I'd cover next. A night where I sat on the fire escape with a beer, watching the street go gold, and didn't feel responsible for the weather. It wasn't all easy. Guilt is a muscle my family built for me. Mom would send a photo of Dad in a brace, and I'd feel that muscle flex. I'd breathe, count, look at the calendar and the statements and ask, is this a need or a nudge? If it was a need, I helped. If it was a nudge, I didn't. I started to hear the difference. Work changed me in ways I didn't expect. On base, guys who had always called me accountant or dad, because I kept everyone on schedule, started asking about life stuff. How do you do that? How do you say no without sounding like a jerk? I told them the truth. You can sound like a jerk. You just can't be one. Say the rule. Keep the rule. Be generous inside the rule. I also did something that felt ridiculous and necessary. I opened a new account, labeled Chris only, in my budgeting app. Every payday I moved money there first. Rent, food, savings, a line for fun that I actually used. I bought a secondhand guitar and learned 4 ugly chords. I spent a weekend fixing up my truck with parts that didn't come from a bargain bin. I took a woman named Sam to a minor league game and didn't spend the whole time worrying about a text that might yank me out of my seat. Emma started sending the 50 every Friday. Sometimes she sent a screenshot with it like she needed a sticker. Sometimes she forgot until Sunday and then sent 2. It wasn't about the money. It was about the muscle we were building. Her learning to carry her own weight. Me learning to stop grabbing at it first. 2 months in, she posted a photo with the caption, learning to speak the truth even when I want to be liked. Mom commented a string of eye-roll emojis. Dad wrote, family business is private. I didn't touch any of it. Private for them meant, don't expose the parts we're ashamed of. Truth, for me, meant, name the mess so you can clean it. The real shift happened at a birthday dinner for Grandma. I almost didn't go, but I did because I loved her, and because avoiding a battlefield is not the same as peace. We were all seated when Uncle Mike raised his glass and said to Emma, the one who, quick correction, I said, not smiling. For 8 years I covered the bills. Emma said she did. That ends now. We're all learning new habits. Fork scraped. Someone coughed. Emma stared at her napkin like it could give advice. Dad's face flushed a color I didn't know he could make. Grandma looked at me with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. You finally grew a spine, she said. Then she laughed, delighted, and kept eating like she'd been waiting to be served this course for a decade. The table exhaled. People pivoted. Cousin Jake asked me about my last duty station. Aunt Linda complimented Emma's new haircut without mentioning money. The world didn't end. We just stopped lying in public. After dessert, Dad cornered me by the coat rack. You humiliated me. You did that, I said, my voice even. When you lied long enough to believe it. He leaned in close. You think you're better than me. I thought about all the times I tried to win by being smaller. No, I said. I think I'm finally being me. He looked confused, which is what happens when your favorite tool stops working. He stepped back. Get out. I will, I said, sliding my jacket on. And next month when the mortgage is due, if you need help, you know the rule. He didn't answer. That was fine. Silence is information. When I got home, there was an envelope under my door. No return address, just my name and Emma's neat handwriting. Inside, $50 in cash and a note that said, I told Grandma the truth too. She said, about time. I put the 50 in a jar on my dresser. I wasn't keeping score. I was keeping evidence that people can change. And I was changing too, in small ways that felt like fresh air. I said yes to a volunteer thing at the local boxing gym, teaching kids how to wrap their hands and keep their feet. I slept, really slept. I started to make plans that didn't need a contingency for a 2 a.m. crisis call. It turns out there's a lot of life on the other side of what money? There's space. There's the quiet you earn. 3 months after the kitchen table war, Dad called. Not Mom. Dad. He cleared his throat. Your mother says I should talk to you. I sat in my truck outside the gym, windows down, the street humming. Okay, I said. Mortgage is due, he said. Send the statement. I answered. A beat. Then, softer than I'd ever heard from him. Emma told me she's paying you back. She is, I said. She told me. You made a plan. It sounded like a foreign word in his mouth. I did. He exhaled. I hate plans. I know. Silence settled. Not the old kind, the loaded kind. Just a pause where 2 people check if the bridge can hold. I shouldn't have said doormat, he managed. You shouldn't have, I agreed. But you did. We can't unring it. We can decide what we do next. He coughed. Send me that budget thing. This spreadsheet. Something in me unclenched. I'll send a template, I said. We can go over it or you can do it alone. Your call. Your voice is different, he said suddenly. Yeah, I said. Mine. Another beat. Your mom made chicken, he said, which was his way of saying he missed me. I'm busy tonight, I said, and let the words stand without apology. But I can come Sunday after church. 1 hour. We'll talk bills. Not feelings. Not history. Bills. Deal, deal, he said. On Sunday, I showed up with printed copies and a highlighter. We sat at the same table where he'd called me a doormat. The light looked different. Maybe it was just me. We mapped the month. Mortgage, utilities, dad's PT, the dog's shots. We circled wants in orange. We circled wishful thinking in red. We set 3 calls he had to make himself. We set 2 I promised I'd make if he wrote the questions. The rules were simple: ask, tell the truth, except no. He tried to argue with number 3. I shook my head. That one's for me, I said. Emma came in halfway through and slid $50 on the table without a word. Mom hovered, then sat, then asked what APR meant. And I watched my father bite back a joke and actually answer. It was small. It mattered. No one said thank you that day. We didn't do a group hug. I left with an emptier spreadsheet than usual, and the oddest sensation in my chest, like I'd set down a 100-pound pack I'd forgotten was strapped on. On the drive home, the sunset threw pink at the edges of everything. I rolled the window down. The world smelled like cut grass and exhaust and the last minutes of a long summer day. I thought about 19-year-old me, sitting in a barracks wiring money because love felt like responsibility. I thought about 32-year-old me, sitting at a kitchen table, saying words out loud that changed the air. Here's what I know now. Love without boundaries turns into debt, with interest. Boundaries without love turn into walls no one can climb. The sweet spot is a fence with a gate and a bell. You're allowed to keep the bell unplugged at night. You're allowed to ask people to knock. I still help my family. I just don't do it in the dark. I still love my sister. I just don't love the story where she's a hero with my wallet. I still answer my mother's call sometimes. And I still hear my father's voice in my head. But now it's quieter than mine. A week after our budgeting summit, I texted Emma a photo of the jar on my dresser. The 50s stacked uneven, like a broken picket fence. It's not about payment, I wrote. It's about pattern, she replied. I know. I feel it too. Last night, I sat on the fire escape with that secondhand guitar. My fingers still stumble on the G. The city made its usual noise. Somewhere in it, I could hear my own breathing, steady like a metronome. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel useful. I didn't feel like a doormat or a hero. I felt like a person with both feet on the ground. If you asked me for a moral, I'd give you the simple one. I won't let people use me and call it love. I won't confuse silence with peace. I won't fund a lie. I'll show up with receipts, with kindness, with a gate that opens when the bell rings for the right reasons. And when someone says, "What money?" I'll say, "The money I earn, the money I choose." Then I'll choose. This journey was long and messy, but I finally feel like myself again. I'm curious. What's a boundary you've had to set that completely changed your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your stories.